After 4 decades of marriage, I never thought the most dangerous part of my life would begin with a stranger leaning against a brick wall and smiling at me. He stood there, leaning casually against the brick wall, a smirk playing on his lips as if he owned the street. My heart raced, not from fear, but from something I hadn't felt in decades. For a moment, the world slipped away, and I was no longer a wife bound by years of routine. I was a woman on the edge of something forbidden, something electric. What happens when a single glance can shake the very foundations of a 40-year marriage? Stay with me, because this is not just a story of betrayal, it's a story of awakening.
Hey there.
Have you ever felt the warmth of familiarity wrap around you, yet sensed a thrilling spark just beyond reach? It's in those fleeting moments, the ones that catch you off guard, that life reveals its hidden depths. Picture this. I wander along a secluded Brooklyn street, embraced by a cool, damp morning that seems to cradle the entire borough in a gentle, gray fog. My mind wanders, as it often does lately. At 70, I've shared 40 years with Michael, sweet, reliable, always so kind Michael. Nice is commendable, but it doesn't make my heart race. It doesn't spark a thrill. Nice just exists, and lately, I've been wondering if that's enough. As I wander through these thoughts, my sensible shoes click against the pavement, and then I see him, a young man, maybe in his early 20s, leaning against a brick wall like it's his kingdom. His hair is a wild tangle, and he wears a worn leather jacket that tells stories of its own. Wait, is he? Oh my God, he is. Right there, he stood with an almost careless defiance, whistling to himself as if the street were a stage. I freeze for a moment, my mind racing. I should feel disgusted. I should cross the street to avoid him, maybe even shoot him a disapproving glare. But instead, I find myself drawn to him.
Why?
I can't quite say. Maybe it's the way he's so unapologetically himself. He exudes an effortless charm, seemingly unaware of the gazes that cling to him. There's something about his presence, reminiscent of a character from a raw, captivating film. For the first time in ages, I'm stirred by emotions that go beyond simple kindness. As I approach, I murmur softly, as if gauging the tension in the air. "Excuse me." He startles, quickly zipping up, and for a heartbeat, our eyes lock. He looks like a child caught in a secret, but then a playful smirk dances on his lips. "Sorry, my bad," he murmurs, his voice a low, rough whisper. In this moment, boundaries fade, and I find myself unable to look away, holding his gaze longer than I should, longer than what's proper. There's an irresistible pull towards him, the confidence in his stance, the way he seems unbothered by the world around him, as if he knows he belongs. His gaze meets mine, intense and searching, as if he's peeling back the layers of my soul. It's intoxicating and forbidden, a rush that comes from knowing it shouldn't be. Finally, I tear my eyes away and move on, my heart racing from the unexpected connection. So yes, that happened, and before any judgments are made, let me explain. I'm not some predatory figure lurking in the shadows. I'm a woman who has lived a full life, nothing more, nothing less. Yet, as I walked home, thoughts of him clung to me, swirling in my mind. The way he moved, that smirk of his, as if he held a tantalizing secret just beyond my grasp. I shook my head, attempting to push away the thoughts that lingered. When I stepped inside, Michael was there, as always. "Hey, Eleanor, where have you been?" he asked, his voice warm. "Just out for my walk," I answered, hanging my coat on the hall tree. He had made breakfast, scrambled eggs, toast, coffee, his familiar gesture of kindness, and I felt a flutter of gratitude. I really did. As I sat down to eat, an unexpected flutter stirred within me, something I dared not name. Guilt? No, it felt more like a secret thrill. While Michael sweetened his tea, my thoughts slipped to the earlier encounter, his presence bold, untamed. How absurd, I thought. My heart was being utterly foolish. There was a time, decades ago, when Michael would bring home tulips just because. I used to wait by the window. Now he brews tea and doesn't notice when I forget to drink it. Michael pressed a soft kiss to my forehead before leaving for work, and the moment the door clicked shut, I did what any woman in my position might. I lost myself in a whirlwind of captivating images of handsome strangers online. It was a tantalizing escape. What started as a simple distraction, a fleeting glimpse to lift my spirits, spiraled into something I never anticipated. The next morning, as I stepped out for my walk, I turned the corner and felt my heart race. There he was again, in the same place, lost in his world. I froze, mesmerized, hidden in the shadows, completely unseen by him. I could have turned away, let the moment slip by unnoticed, but where's the excitement in that? I moved closer, hands hidden in my coat pockets, and teased, "You really have a thing for this spot." He jumped, caught off guard, and hurriedly zipped up. Oh, caught again. But then he smirked, and I felt a familiar rush, as if time had twisted in on itself. Something was off, like a secret shared in the shadows. I laughed, truly laughed, a sound that felt foreign yet exhilarating, and in that fleeting moment, I found myself drawn to him, flirting without even knowing it. What was happening to me? I walked away, shaking my head at the ridiculousness of it all. My brownstone was just a few steps away, but before I entered, I lingered in my yard, crouching to examine my plants. One of the leaves was marred with holes, a small reminder of the chaos of life. Perhaps it was the caterpillars, I sighed, my fingers grazing the surface. That's when I felt it, a gaze, heavy and lingering. I looked up, and there he was again, wandering past my house, hands tucked away, a casual air masking something deeper. When our eyes locked, time seemed to pause, surprise dancing in his expression. "Oh, you live here?" he asked, and I straightened, brushing off my hands, heart racing. I had thought I was just wandering, searching for something more than mere encounters. He chuckled softly, but I wasn't done. I leaned in closer, my voice dropping to a whisper. "You know," I said, tilting my head, "I was thinking about you." His smirk wavered. "Yeah, I replied, feigning innocence. I wondered how a man like him survives when there's no wall to lean against. He blinked, surprise flickering in his eyes as his mouth parted slightly. I smiled, sweet and innocent, savoring the fleeting moment when he was left momentarily speechless. Then, he exhaled a soft, breathy laugh, running a hand through his hair. "Damn, you're dangerous." I shrugged. "Only to those who can't handle the heat." That made him laugh, truly laugh, a deep, unexpected sound, as if he wasn't used to being the one caught off guard. Okay, I get it," he interrupted, a soft chuckle escaping his lips. "In my defense, nature has a way of choosing the worst moments." I tapped my chin, a teasing smile playing on my lips. "Or perhaps you enjoy the thrill of an audience." His eyes widened, momentarily lost for words. Then, laughter broke free, and he shook his head, a hint of admiration in his gaze. "You're truly one of a kind, aren't you?" I teased him with a playful smirk. "Since we're so close now, it's Eleanor." He repeated my name, savoring it like a secret. "Nice to meet you properly. I'm Lucas." Just then, the door swung open and Michael appeared. The moment was charged. Michael's gaze flicked between us, his brow arching in surprise. To his credit, the young man regained his composure swiftly. "Well," he said, taking a step back, "I guess I'll be seeing you around." "Oh, I'm sure you will," I replied, my voice laced with a hint of mischief. He grinned, shaking his head as if I were a puzzle he couldn't quite solve, before walking away. Michael watched him go, then turned to me, curiosity etched on his face. "Who was that?" I brushed it off with a wave. "Just a foolish young man looking for a bit of spare change." Michael's brow furrowed. "He doesn't seem homeless, though. You know how young men can be, always searching for something more." Michael's casual shrug hinted at a deeper understanding, a softness that was both comforting and unsettling. He had always been too kind, and maybe that was the heart of it. Inside the house, a heavy silence hung between us, his gaze locked onto mine over the edge of his coffee cup, those eyes lingering just a heartbeat longer, a flicker of longing igniting the air. I remembered the night of our wedding, how he trembled as he slipped the ring onto my hand, how I had once looked at him with eyes full of belief. When did that vanish? When did I stop waiting by the window? I exhaled softly, and before I knew it, we were in the bedroom. He was alive with excitement, like a child unwrapping a long-awaited gift, knowing the treasure hidden within. It was pleasant, sweet, and just as expected. Later, I found myself lost in thought, gazing at the ceiling, feeling the heaviness of it all. In the soft morning light, Michael lay beside me, like a fleeting moment, easy, familiar, yet lacking the depth I craved. He brought a fleeting sense of satisfaction, but it never lingered. I craved something more, something thrilling and perilous. From the moment I laid eyes on that young man, with his wild spirit and untamed charm, he took over my mind. It felt forbidden, yet in a way, it felt like destiny. Standing before the bathroom mirror, I studied the woman I had become. Wrinkles I never noticed, eyes still sharp but shadowed. I traced the curve of my cheekbone and whispered aloud, "Do you even know what you're looking for?" The next morning, as I stepped out for my usual walk, a flutter of hope danced in my chest. Would he be there again? Would we find ourselves caught in another fleeting moment? The air crackled with unspoken possibilities, but as I rounded the corner onto Union Street, disappointment washed over me. I paused, pretending to tie my shoe, my heart racing as I searched the empty street. Still nothing. Fine, I told myself I wasn't waiting for him. That would be absurd. I made my way back home, but I lingered outside, crouching by my plants, my fingertips grazing the leaves, desperate to prolong the moment. Then, from the corner of my eye, I saw him, walking down the street, heading straight for me, and this time he didn't pause at his usual spot. My heart raced as I caught a glimpse of him, a playful smirk tugging at my lips while I clutched the water bottle tightly. "Hey, Eleanor," he called, his steps slowing, drawing me in closer to the edge of something unspoken. I leaned against the fence, my heart racing. "You didn't take a leak today." He stopped short, surprise flickering in his eyes before laughter spilled out. I lifted my bottle, a playful challenge. "Here, take this. Stay close, even when the world says we shouldn't." He shook his head, a smile breaking through as he took it from my hands. "Wow, I didn't realize you were such a fan." I raised an eyebrow, my heart racing. "I was just concerned about you. 8 glasses a day, you know." He unscrewed the cap and took a deliberate sip, his gaze lingering on the unfolding scene, a quiet sense of satisfaction blooming within him. I tried to smile, soft and inviting, as his eyes held mine, brimming with intrigue. "So, Eleanor, do you always offer water to strangers, or just those who make a lasting impression?" I tapped my chin, pretending to think. "Only the ones that are hard to resist." He took another sip, curiosity dancing in his eyes. "And what about you? Any secrets you can't shake?" Oh no, he was starting to understand. I stepped closer, my voice dropping to a whisper that danced between us. His throat moved slightly, a telltale sign of his curiosity. I smirked. "My habits are a little wild. You might find them hard to resist." He let out a soft breath, a sound laced with intrigue. A chuckle escaped him as he tilted his head, watching me as I turned toward my front door. "Would you like to come in for a quick breakfast? I wouldn't mind the company." His voice was barely above a whisper as he stole a glance down the street, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. I leaned against the door frame, arms crossed, my heart racing. "What's the matter? Afraid to share a moment over breakfast?" That was the moment. He let out a breath, then shrugged. "What the hell?" he murmured, crossing the threshold. I shut the door softly behind him. In the kitchen, I reached for a knife and some onions, pushing them toward him on the counter. "Here," I said, offering the knife. "Chop these." He chuckled, taken aback. "Didn't expect to be put to work." "Oh, it's not work," I whispered, my heart racing. "I just want to add a bit of your touch to the dish. It makes things more interesting." He paused mid-chop, his eyes locking onto mine with a blend of amusement and something deeper, something forbidden. I held his gaze, suppressing a smile. We danced around the kitchen, cooking as if we were lost in a moment that belonged only to us. It felt effortless, a spark igniting in the air. As I twirled the spatula in the pan, my fingers brushed against his, guiding his hand over the handle. "Like this," I whispered, feeling the tension in his body melt away. Together, we mixed the ingredients, my hand gently resting on his, the world around us fading into silence. When we finally sat down to eat, an unspoken longing hung between us, thick and undeniable. After breakfast, I offered him something cold to drink, just a way to keep the moment light. He raised an eyebrow, a teasing grin spreading across his face. "Morning drink? That's bold." I clinked my bottle lightly against his. "You'll survive." We moved to the living room, our proximity charged with unvoiced feelings. I took a long sip, a teasing smile dancing on my lips. "Care to escape into a world of secrets?" He chuckled softly, his fingers tangling in his hair. My own hair was a mess, and the urge to escape tugged at me. I arched an eyebrow as he nervously scratched the back of his neck. "Your husband won't return until evening," I said, dismissing the thought before it could take root. I caught the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. A challenge, maybe. "You're not busy with anyone else, are you?" My heart raced as I leaned in, captivated by his every move. He paused, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "No, not really," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. I wrapped a blanket around myself and gestured toward the couch with a gentle smile, inviting him to sit.
"Come closer."
His fingers tightened around the bottle, a hint of hesitation lingering. I raised an eyebrow, playfully challenging. "Afraid of a little closeness?" A slow smirk danced on his lips as he sank into the couch, the blanket slipping over his legs, the space between us shrinking to a breathless whisper. This was going to be dangerously captivating. I scrolled through the options, finally choosing a movie that felt just right. As the film started, the soft glow from the screen danced around us. I sank deeper into the blanket, our bodies almost touching as the story unfolded, a secret world of older women and younger men. My eyes wandered to him, a quick glance here, a lingering gaze there, each moment charged with unspoken tension. He shifted in his seat, rolling his shoulders as he adjusted his position. A nervous energy coursed through him, and I fought back a smirk. His reaction to one particularly steamy scene was priceless. I turned to him, leaning in to whisper, "What do you think?" He cleared his throat, his heart racing.
"About what?"
I tilted my head, my heart racing, urging him to reveal more. "The dynamic," I whispered, craving the secrets hidden within his words. He let out a soft chuckle, the sound hanging in the air like a secret. "It's, intriguing." I paused, letting the tension build before I whispered, "Do you think the older women are exploiting it?" He caught my eye, a mischievous smile lighting up his features. "Perhaps it's the opposite." I raised an eyebrow. Curiosity piqued. "You believe the young men hold all the power?" He laughed softly, a hint of mischief in his eyes. I wouldn't be shocked at all. I leaned in just slightly. "And you, if you were in their shoes?" His jaw tensed for a fleeting moment before he masked it with a smirk. "I think I'd be just fine." A soft, amused hum escaped my lips. "Oh, that confident?" He ran a hand through his hair, a flicker of awareness crossing his face as he realized how close we were beneath the blanket. I shifted slightly, our knees brushing for a moment, accidental, but not entirely unwelcome. "You're squirming," I teased, taking a sip of my drink, the tension thick between us. He scoffed. "I'm not squirming." My gaze fell, lingering for a moment before meeting his again. A muscle in his jaw twitched, and a grin tugged at my lips as I watched him struggle to keep his cool. It was a thrill, this dance between us. I traced the rim of my bottle with my fingertip, breaking the tension. "Tell me something," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. He raised an eyebrow, curiosity flickering in his eyes. "What do you mean?" I bit my lip, pretending to think. "Do you think people, no matter their age, still crave to be seen, truly seen?" His smirk dimmed, a flicker of understanding passing between us. I noticed the way his throat worked as he swallowed hard. "Well," he said, shifting in his seat, his voice dropping to a husky whisper. "I suppose they'd want someone who understands them before they even realize what they need." I nodded slowly, urging him to go on. He exhaled softly, glancing at the screen before his gaze found mine again. Someone who doesn't just see them, but feels them, in all the places they've longed to be understood. A warmth blossomed within me, and I tilted my head, smiling. "That's a beautiful answer." He finally turned back to me, his eyes capturing mine in a moment that felt both thrilling and dangerous. "Yeah," I whispered, holding his gaze as I took a slow sip of my drink. The air between us crackled with unspoken words, the movie fading into the background. I didn't kiss him, not really. But something passed between us in that moment, something wordless and magnetic, a current we both felt. It lingered in the space between our breaths, a pause filled with possibilities we didn't dare name. I pulled back just enough, allowing the silence to swell, then stood up and walked to the window, pretending to admire the sunlight slanting across the brownstones. He stayed on the couch, watching me, the tension in the room humming like electricity. "Eleanor," he said softly. Just my name, but it sounded different coming from him, uncertain, curious, and maybe a little awed. I turned back toward him, offering a smile that didn't give too much away. "Sometimes I forget how quiet it can be here during the day," I said, as if nothing had shifted between us. "Brooklyn can feel like its own little secret when everyone's off at work." He nodded slowly. "It feels like time stops a bit in here." I shrugged. Maybe that's the trick to growing older, learning how to pause things when they matter. He didn't respond. Instead, he stood, walking over to where I stood. We weren't touching, but the space between us felt thinner than it had before. "I should probably go," he said after a long pause, but he made no move toward the door. I tilted my head. "You could. Or you could help me water the plants." He smiled, the tension breaking just a little. "Watering plants, huh? You really know how to show a guy a wild time."
I
Laughed gently. "Wild isn't always what you think it is." He followed me to the backyard, and we spent the next 20 minutes in comfortable silence, passing the watering can back and forth. The sunlight warmed the bricks under our feet, and the city noise seemed far away. When we returned inside, he glanced at the clock and scratched his head. "Guess I really should get going now." I nodded, walking him to the door. He paused before stepping out, turning to face me. "I'll see you around, Eleanor." I offered a quiet smile. "I'm sure you will." After he left, I stood there for a while, staring at the closed door. The house felt different, like it had exhaled. I straightened the blanket on the couch, rinsed the mugs, and tried to return to normal. But something in me remained stirred. Just then, the front door creaked open. "Michael," I called, striving for calmness in my voice. He smiled, blissfully unaware. "Hey, sweetheart," said, voice softer now. "I should let you get back." I looked at him, really looked. The youth in him didn't feel like a contrast to me anymore. It felt like a mirror, reflecting something in me that had been buried, not lost. "You're welcome to come in," I said, the words gentle, free of expectation. "Just for coffee." He smiled. "I'd like that." Inside, I poured 2 cups, and we sat at the kitchen table, the morning light streaming in through the windows. He looked around, taking in the details, photos on the shelves, worn wood under his fingers. "It's a good home," he said. "It's been lived in," I replied. "Like me." He looked at me then, his gaze open. "That's not a bad thing." I nodded, sipping slowly. "No," I said. "It's not." The conversation drifted from books to music to favorite places in the city. We laughed. We sat in quiet. And for once, there was no rush to define anything. No lines drawn. No roles played. Just 2 people sharing a space. Eventually he stood. "I should go." I followed him to the door. He turned once more before stepping out. "I'll see you around?" I smiled. "I hope so." After he left, I leaned against the doorframe, exhaling into the stillness. Brooklyn was waking up around me. The city moved on. And so did I, aware now of the flicker of something I thought was long gone, something quiet and beautiful, not loud or reckless. Not wrong. Just unexpected. Just mine. I stepped back into the kitchen, the scent of coffee still lingering in the air. And before I reached for the sink, I paused and opened a drawer I hadn't touched in years. Inside was a small, leather-bound journal. I hadn't written in it since my daughter left for college. I sat, flipped to a blank page, and began to write. June 17th. Today, I remembered how it feels to be seen. If this story stirred something inside you, tell me, have you ever felt a moment you couldn't explain, just knew? Leave a comment, share your thoughts, or simply subscribe. There are more stories waiting to be told, quiet ones, fierce ones, true ones. And maybe the next one will be yours.